Now, there was something you left out, but what was it? Yes, so Hitler was very good to the Hungarians because we supplied them with food and with uniforms and all kinds of stuff they needed, and Hungary had it. And so he gave back to Hungary all the territories which was taken away after the First World War, like Transylvania, like one part of Yugoslavia, one part of Slovakia. So suddenly Hungary grew, and it gave a big boost to the economic life, because there were entrepreneurs who went there, and there were all kinds of business they could make with these territories, which now came back to Hungary. But of course it had his other side, that the Jews from there were the first ones who were deported, while Romanian Jews were also deported, but not in such a big scale as the Hungarians. So if they had stayed in Romania, maybe many of them would have survived, who perished. And then
from
the
April
hell
on we had to wear
out,
the yellow
really.
star. And when was it, in May or June, when you
In
could
June.
live only in designated houses? Now, it was lucky that the house where Eva's family lived was a designated Jewish house. So the whole Bodor family moved into that house. And we had to leave everything, furniture, everything.
Just take our
We
beds.
had. And another family, a non-Jewish family, was given that apartment. They were decent, and they kept whatever was not theirs, they kept it for us, so they didn't claim it. They returned it after the war. And then we were cooped up in, how many people did we have?
About 10 or 11.
There was Eva's parents, there was Eva, there was her older sister with the 3 children, there were my parents, our parents.
So 11.
The men, Louis and Polly, they were away in labor camps. And Lisa, her name was Lisa, the older sister, who is the center in that picture. Her husband was also away and never came back. And that's when the fight really for survival started, because then we already knew that deportations are going to come, and we tried to avoid it. In the meantime, also in Hungary, there was a change of government. The so-called Arrow Cross government, who was the Hungarian Nazi government, they took over. And that's when they started deporting people. Our turn came sometimes in late October, when they first called us to a sport establishment. Girls up to a certain age.
Yes, in October, mid-October.
That was in mid-October. Had to be at that certain place at a certain time. But for some strange reason, they sent us home after a day.
Yes.
And then we started trying to get these so-called visas, which we got for 10 people. She was the 11th. And because she
I didn't get it. And
now you take over.
They were so concerned about poor Agi. She didn't get her passport, her Swiss passport. So what's going to happen? And Agi said, so I said, so then I will vanish. I will disappear. I got from several people, I got the promise, if something goes wrong, just come to us, we will hide you. But I never thought it will come to this. I never hoped it won't come. But it came to this, and I left the house. In the next door I went inside, I removed my star from my coat.
It was already well known that they came at night and took you away.
I did. So first I went to my gym teacher, who lived not far from us, and she was very nice. I could stay there if I wanted, but no, because a friend of us expected me to come over, and there was no telephone, of course, so I had to go. She and her husband accompanied me to the friend's house. And oh, my friend said, that's too bad, because yesterday night the Arrow Cross people came and searched all the apartments. If not, there is no hiding somebody. I am afraid to keep you here. Okay, so what to do? But she said, but I arranged already with my boyfriend who lives in Bodor that you go there and he will pick you up. He had a car. He was one of these nouveau riche who could make advantage of this new territories Hungary got back. And really, so my friends left, and her boyfriend came with a car and
Picked you up?
I never saw him before in my life. He picked me up. He took me over to Bodor in a beautiful apartment. There was a maid, and I got a nice supper with him. So we talked a little bit, and then they made me a very nice bed in one of the rooms, and I slept there the whole night. And then in the morning, I thanked him very much, and I went off my way. So I went back to my gym teacher's house, and then I called from there. I called another couple who promised me and they said, yes, just come over. We need a seamstress to make. I spoke to the husband she was a customer of mine. My wife needs some dresses. You just come over and make her some dresses. So I went over, and really I started to sew there.
But what happened in between is that the second night she was away.
No, this was after.
What?
No, the second night I was in my teacher's home, and when I saw it. Yes.
So that the second night they came and
I was there, still in my teacher's home,
and got us, Eva and
the husband of my teacher, said, Dushi, call Dushi. There was a telephone in the house, just one phone, and I spoke to her, to Dushi, because he said, tell your silly sister to come over just now, because you never know what happens tomorrow. And I told Dushi, come over now. And mother didn't want her to go. It was dark, it was raining.
She said, so you go in the morning.
She will come over in the morning.
So
because they offered her to also to stay there. And in the morning, I went to the window, and I was very restless this night. I went to the window, looked out, and on the plaza in front of the window, I said, hundreds of women with backpacks, all dressed up. And I looked around, oh my, this woman is from our house. She also had the Schutzpass. And I was looking further, and there was Dushi, there was Eva, there was Susan, who all had their Swiss passports, and they were taken away. So I was standing just a little bit above them, looking down, and couldn't do anything, just cry. This was the only way I could do. And my teacher told, don't open the window, don't try to talk, don't try to, because it was so close. And then after a while, they left. They went somewhere. And
Tony, the husband of the famous gym teacher, who was a tall, big redhead, he went and got himself an armband, an Arrow Cross armband, and a friend who was a policeman, and tried to find us. Where did they take us? They found the
took them in the
place
factory.
where they took us, but it was too late because we were already on the way, on the highway to marching to the west, to Vienna. After 2 or 3 days we decided we'd try not to do this, we tried to escape. Eva knew about one of her former maids who married and was living in a village not very far from where we were marching. And we just left the march and we started going into that direction. And we were nearly there, close to the village, when a patrol, a gendarme was a special police patrol. Gendarme patrol caught us and asked us for papers. We didn't have any papers. We tried to pretend that we are refugees from Transylvania, because by that time Transylvania was again part of Romania. Many Hungarians, of course, also the Russian front was not so very far, so they escaped to Hungary. But because we couldn't prove anything, they didn't believe us. And they took us to the nearest jail. And I still remember it was a horse-drawn car, a carriage, and they drove us through the Bakony Mountains, and it was a beautiful full moon. I could enjoy even at that time how beautiful it was. And we landed in jail in a city by the name of Veszprém.